If you don't already love grits, maybe you haven't had the right grits cooked the right way. Let me show you how. So the secret to really good grits is to use the right grits. That means not an instant grit, but instead a stone ground grit. A stone ground grit is simply the corn that's been ground by a water pumped wheel. And you can get them in all different kinds of colors. You can get white grits made from white corn, yellow grits made from yellow corn. You can get coarse grits, which give you more texture, and you can even get blue grits. But the key is to get stone ground grits so that you're not using the instant. Now, of course, the biggest challenge to making grits in the morning is that it does take a little bit of time. But there's a trick. If you soak them overnight in the same quantity of water as you're going to use the next day, you can just start cooking them and they cook in half the time. So if you haven't had the foresight to soak the grits, not all is lost. You can go ahead and do them right from scratch. We're going to use a 4-to-1 ratio, and we're going to start with some coarse yellow grits in the pot here. I'm going to add 4 cups of water. Some people like to use chicken stock instead of water when they're cooking the grits, which is great if you're using this in a savory preparation, say with shrimp. But I like to really taste the corn, so I'm going to start with water here. Another option would be to cook them with some milk or a combination of water and milk. I'm starting with water to get that great corn flavor. I'm going to finish with a little cream to make it super creamy. So turn this on. We're going to bring this to a boil, and while we're bringing it to a boil, we're going to whisk it until the first starches sort of catch. That might not mean something to you now, but it will as soon as you start whisking. You'll feel it happen. Now this will take as long as it takes the water to boil, so it could take 5 minutes. You want to just whisk, not vigorously, just to make sure nothing sticks to the bottom. So you'll feel the starches start to grab and expand and absorb that water as you're whisking, and you'll see that they're not sinking to the bottom anymore, and that's time to turn the heat down. So turn that down to the lowest setting, let it simmer, but it's really important to season the grits now, because once grits are fully cooked, they're not going to absorb any more salt. They're only going to absorb it during the cooking process. So we're going to add some salt to our grits at this moment. Now, lowest setting, lid on. Every 5 to 10 minutes, we're going to come back. We're going to give that a good whisk, adding a little water if they need a little loosening until the grits are tender. How do you know? You're going to taste it. Now, different grits, fine grits, coarse grits, take a different amount of time to cook. Finer grits take less time, coarse grits take longer, so it could be anywhere from 30 to 45 minutes. These are so delicious. You can taste a lot of great corn, but there's still some texture there because we used the coarse grits. So now it's time to season them up. We need to season it with salt and pepper, but we're also adding butter, cream, and some cheese. We're going to season it after we add the cheese because cheese can often be very salty. So I turned the heat off first. Now I'm going to add the cheese. There's enough residual heat in those grits to melt that cheese. I'm going to stir in a little bit of cream to loosen it, and that's also going to make it beautifully creamy. And we're going to add butter. These are seriously looking delicious. Let's taste it one more time, and then we're going to season it with salt and pepper. You don't have to only use cheddar. You could use any cheese you want. Fontina would be beautiful in there, some Parmesan cheese. You can even put a little bit of blue cheese on grits if you're so inclined. Now these are actually almost perfect. I'm going to add just a tiny bit of salt, but the black pepper is going to give it a little bit of zing, and we're ready to serve this up. So grab a bowl, pour in some grits, and now garnish it up with whatever you like. A little bit of chives, a little more cheese, you are good to go. Thanks for watching. If you'd like to see more of the basics, click over here. If you'd like to see everything I used in this recipe, click over here. And if you have any questions, comments, or suggestions for more basics, put them in the comments section below.